travel broadens the mind is a very ancient cliche. But like all cliches, it actually holds the kernel of much wisdom. Because when we travel, we step outside of our comfort zones. We find situations in which we encounter people, habits, customs, places that are completely different from what we know. And it's in that process of discovering the other through encounter and surprise and disquiet, that is how we actually expand our own consciousness and our sense of diversity. Which is why this section of the exhibition is called Travel as Education. It encompasses not only the formal academic work that the young Sakti Burman did in Paris in the 1950s, but it also courses through very particular experiences of learning, of encounter with a new landscape. So to one side of this floor or this gallery within the museum, you find work that Sakti did on study tours or whilst he was traveling to, say, Venice or to Udaipur, or when he was looking out of his own window in Paris. So that is one particular kind of relationship to the landscape. And remember that the landscape does not exist in nature. The landscape is what happens when we apply our own parameters of viewing to something that is otherwise an undistinguished part of nature. So the landscape is a fiction. And there are some very compelling fictions here. To the other side of this gallery is the kind of pedagogy of a classical kind where an artist applied himself or herself to genre, to the still life, to the portrait. So there is a series of still lifes in which Sakti Burman animates the object, whether it's a set of fruit, whether it's lemons on a table, or a sitar and a violin. Each one of these objects begins to breathe and live for us. And to me, the pivot or centerpiece of this part of the show, both literally and figuratively, is the two bodies of work that you see behind me. And the reason this is so special is because it is the work of not one but two artists. It's Sakti Burman and his wife Maite Deltail. And this part of the exhibition, this subsection, is called parallax vision. Now, parallax is the phenomenon where if you close one eye and look at it out of the other, and then close the other eye, you find that what you're seeing shifts. The point of view actually shifts what is seen. So it was very interesting for me to discover these paintings at the studio, at the home of Sakti and Maite in Paris. We found these paintings in an old portfolio, and we realized that they'd been made in 1959 and 1960 when Maite and Sakti lived in Altea, which is a little village near Malaga in the south of Spain. So here were two young artists who had gone through the same kind of training, who were in this village in Franco's Spain, which was in any case a very quiet sort of situation to be in. And they were out here at the marina, looking at the sea, looking at the little village, and they were painting the same things, except that they were not the same things. So in this sequence of works, you're able to see what two artistic temperaments, two sensibilities bring to what they're seeing. What do they record? What are the small differences of emphasis? How is a boat represented? How is a group of women down at the port? How does each artist represent them? Even something as simple as the vista or view of the village. What is it that's emphasized? Is it the huddle of the houses? Is it the dome of the church? It is these kinds of viewerly delights that you will find when you look at these works. And then, of course, because they've been mixed up by me, you have to look at the signature to see whether it was Maite's painting or Sakti's.